So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone 12, should you buy it here in 2022? That is the aim of today's video. Now, the iPhone 12 actually starts at $699, but you can get the 12 mini for $599, but we're talking about the regular size 6.1 inch 12 right here. You can also get this in purple. You can't get the iPhone 13 in purple, so if you're a purple fan, you'll definitely want to consider the iPhone 12. Now, you know, the iPhone 11 I covered in the last video, but this one has a lot of bigger upgrades over that, and I'm going to begin by talking about the body and the build. Now, take a look at our current iPhone 13, the latest edition of the iPhone. You could see basically identical designs. Most people wouldn't be able to tell the difference until you see that diagonal camera. Then you know, okay, that guy's got the 13, that guy's got the 12 with the vertical camera, but only people that really look into phones would even notice this stuff. What I like about the iPhone 12 though, over the iPhone 13, is that it's a little bit lighter feeling. It's a little more compact feeling than that of the iPhone 13, just slightly, just because it has the overall lighter weight than that phone over there. And the body itself does have a glass back, but it has ceramic shield on the front, 164 grams, it's lightweight, thinner bezels than the iPhone 11 here, OLED display. I mean, come on, this phone feels every bit as modern as that iPhone 13. So in terms of the body and the build, it's a definite go for me right now. However, consider that if you don't like the notch, you're looking for something a little bit different, the iPhone 14 later this year in September probably going to have a punch hole or something a little bit different. I'm pretty sure Apple's not going to stick with the notch again, but they usually do. So we'll have to see if I'm wrong there, but I do think we're going to see something radically different this year. So if you're not into this look, you might want to wait off till September. But overall design right now, as of the recording of this video, still a definite win for me. Okay, so when we're talking about the display panel here, we're looking at a Super Retina XDR OLED display here. Essentially what that means is it's much more vibrant than iPhone XR and the iPhone 11. And should you buy this now that we just entered into 2022, yes, a lot of Android phones do have a good display like this, or even you can argue much better. This is only 60 Hertz. However, you don't have iOS, so for an iOS device, you were getting iPhone XR and 11 with LCDs for a while. So bringing the Super Retina XDR OLED, even though it's only 625 nits, it doesn't hit that 1000 nits or even 800 like the Pro Series phones. This is still a solid display. It has a 19:9 aspect ratio. So what does that actually mean? What are you talking about, Nick? Well, it's a little bit wider than what you'll experience on some of the more narrow Samsung competing devices. So it just feels like you got a good size for the price. You know what I'm saying? Like a pretty good size display in the width. It doesn't feel too skinny, which means when you're reading articles and stuff, let's say you're reading about, you know, men's health, whatever. So if you're reading whatever, you have a little bit more space to just kind of read across. It's a comfortable viewing experience on this phone. And at 460 density, you know, this is actually higher than some competing phones that usually will put 1080 on there and you'll be in a lower 400 range, but most people won't even notice. On the whole, True Tone's on board. You do have night shift dark mode with iOS, so definitely a nice touch. Most phones have features similar to that. They should. This phone has a solid, strong display, whether you're watching video or whatever. One thing I will note though is that if you are looking at photos, for example, on the Apple iPhone 12, if you zoom in, of course, like the other ones, the notch can cut into it a little bit. As you can see over here, you'll definitely notice it. So it's not going to beat something like an iPad Pro that has a full screen. But I gotta say, this display is gorgeous. It's really a winner. And in 2022, even though it's 60 Hertz, it's still pretty good and it's acceptable. It's definitely a major upgrade over the prior 11 and 10R. And then what about the software for this phone? Well, you have the app library, which came last year, but we have the focus modes, which I've really been enjoying here for the iPhone right here. Definitely some nice focus abilities, and these features just seem like they're just whatever, but they actually work very good once you start using them for sleep. When you're working, you turn this on, you don't have people bugging you. It's a pretty good feature in iOS 15. Also, you have widgets support, which is nice here. It's still got that core iPhone experience though, where it's mostly just app pages. You can do some new things, like you can move stuff around and things like this. You weren't able to do this before, so that's a little more Android-like. But I gotta say, on the whole, the software is updated very frequently. Anytime something bad goes on, bugs, anything, Apple gets on it real quick. So when it comes to performance on the iPhone 12, you have an Apple A14 Bionic. They went to the A15 over here for the 13. the latest phone. They clocked it a little bit higher, but if you take a look, they have the same RAM. As a matter of fact, it looks like there's a little bit more available RAM for the iPhone 12. In reality though, both these chips are very powerful and they're both based on a 5nm architecture, which means that when you're popping between applications, they actually feel snappier and zippier than iPhones of past, and it's a really nice experience. It just feels like you never slow down whatsoever, no matter what you're doing for iPhone 12. This is why you can buy an iPhone 12 right now, and you're not going to be left in the dust whatsoever. Now, some people have the belief that Apple does slow their iPhones down over time, but the iPhone 12, even if they do, this is not anywhere near that level yet. I don't actually think that's what happens. I think the software advances and then the chip gets old over time and it can't support all the new features. I think that's what's really going on. But the iPhone 12 right now, if you're looking for a strong performer, it's still got it, and it's got 5G. The iPhone 12 does have, you know, a 64 gigabyte starting capacity. So it's actually not quite as high as the 128 over here. So you need to ask yourself the question, how much 4K video do I really do? If you're doing a lot of 4K video and you're not offloading it to, say, an external hard drive or something like a Mac computer, then you could potentially run out of storage quickly if you're doing stuff like 4K at 60 video, even 4K 24 or 30. So keep that in mind. The storage on here is not the strongest, and that leads me on to talking about the battery life on here. Now, the battery life was a little bit disappointing for me on the 12 by comparison to something like the XR11, which really blew me away. It seemed to go down a little bit, and if you look at the actual size of the battery on this phone, it was only at 2815, which actually was down from the iPhone 11, but also this phone had an OLED display and it had a better CPU, so it did make up for it a little bit, giving you at least a full day of use, but don't expect anything more than that on the iPhone 12. I also should mention, in my experience with the 12, if I do take photos and videos a lot, I was able to drain that battery much quicker, but normal use was fine. The iPhone 13 though did improve on this quite a bit, over an hour better battery if you want to spend a little bit more cash and go for that one. Do keep that in mind, but battery life is acceptable. It's not something that I would say don't get this phone over, nothing like that. Now, when it comes to the cameras on this phone, you would think that with the iPhone 13 being bigger lenses that it's way better. It is better, but it's not that much better. Like, let's be real. The iPhone 12 here does have a dual 12 megapixel setup here. Very good cameras. They do have night mode on board. And when I was getting the iPhone 13, I wasn't looking forward to like a major change in the camera. I was just looking forward to the cinematic mode, and it did deliver on that front and better battery life. But the 12's cameras are still very good. I'm very pleased with them as well. They can do ultra wide. They can't zoom that far. We're talking 5x only. So if you like zooming, a lot of people like say, oh, nobody zooms. I don't know about you, but there's been plenty of times that I zoomed at least 10x. So 5x is a little bit low on the zoom. On the video though, it's very good, and then it doesn't have a cinematic mode, but the video does match up on the front at 4K 60. You do have portrait, selfie, and portrait rear, which is good in the classic panel mode slow motion. The overall cameras here is a win still, I would say. And if we speak on the audio quality, by the end of this video, we're going to find out if the iPhone 11 is worth it here. As you can see, getting the mic set up, as you can see, very solid audio. I actually think it sounds a little bit louder than the iPhone 11. So pretty good on the overall audio. We do have Bluetooth 5.0, and phone call quality was strong on the iPhone 12 as they brought back the Qualcomm modems. A nice selling point for this phone if you actually make calls on your smartphone. Do you make calls? Give it a thumbs up if you still make calls. A lot of people don't make calls. They just text and DM people, comment on YouTube, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Thumb wars. Now let's get it. But anyway, if you guys found the video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click the like button for me. I had to say, I really recommend this phone. If you really are looking for something that's cheaper than the iPhone 13 and you could find it on a deal, go with the iPhone 12. Now, don't get me wrong. People are gonna be like, Nick, bro, what are you talking about? All you gotta spend is $100 more and you get the iPhone 13, the better phone. However, keep in mind, I'm not talking about the full retail. At full retail, it's a little bit tricky, but there's a lot of places selling this at a discounted price, and there's people trying to get rid of it at a discounted price. If you're looking in that area, it's definitely a steal. But if it's close in price to the 13, just go with the 13. Let me know your thoughts on this one down below in the comment section of this video. If you found it helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click the like button for me, subscribe for more. I will catch you all in the next episode. Nick here, and peace.